Dear journalists, we start our press briefing, Meritocracy and Decent Pay as Key Drivers for the Public Service Reform in Ukraine. We have Dmytro Natalukha, coordinator of the Professional Government Initiative. We have Vasyl, head of the London Alumni Association, and Vasyl Myroshnychenko, head of the London School of Economics Alumni Association. Dear guests, welcome you on behalf of the Professional Government Initiative. I'm Dmytro Natalukha, I'm coordinator of this initiative. To my left, I have my colleagues Myroshnychenko Vasyl, who is chairman of the London School of Economics Alumni Association. And the objective of our today's conference is about the draft law number 2490 about reform of the civil servants. Our initiative was established immediately after the victory of the Revolution of Dignity. We share Western values and we preach about the high professional level in the government and in public administration. That's why the improvement of civil service is our serious objective. We have been observing for a long period of time how this draft law is hindered, and we have prepared this open letter to the members of parliament, to the prime minister. This is the open letter which sets some major statements why we believe this draft law, which I mentioned, should be passed. Because currently we believe that it's impossible to build up a new state with the involvement on the old human resources which are of poor quality. This is the same as to make good ballet performance with very bad dancers, and the draft law is hindered, its passage is hindered because it clearly distinguishes between the political positions and civil service positions, and it stipulates for the establishment, for introduction of the state secretary position. State secretaries' positions in the ministries. It introduces a straightforward procedure for remuneration. We would like to step back from the system when bonuses, etc., amount to 70% of the remuneration of civil servants, while the salary amounts to only 30%. Also, we believe that the better, more efficient work and raise in salaries could be reached via big cuts in the civil service. I'm Dmytro Vasyl. I'm member of the board of the Professional Government Initiative. Our initiative wishes to establish meritocracy approach in the government bodies for those civil servants who come to government bodies could rely upon career development based on their merit, based on their qualifications. We wish to create funding, such system of funding which would be sufficient for decent remuneration of civil servants and which would prevent corruption. Today's salaries are extremely low, and it does not correspond to the living standard even in our country, and this creates favorable conditions for corruption and bribes. Our initiative wishes to put forward young professionals and allow them to get access to many government bodies. With this, I give the floor to Vasyl. We have Alina Sviderska, who is chairman of the Cambridge Alumni Association. I'm a graduate from the London School of Economy. We have 3 members who belong to our Alumni Association, members of Parliament who belong to our Alumni Association, and we plan to approach to them and request to support this draft law, because the poor status, poor situation in the civil service is major reason why reforming process in the country is hindered. Many people from business are eager to do something. They are now in the civil service positions. They have no team to rely upon, and very quickly these enthusiasts realize that they cannot survive with a salary of 2,000–3,000 hryvnia, and they simply resume from the positions. Why we are involved into this process? Our initiative, professional government, unites today more than 3,000 people. These are graduates of the Western universities, and among our members we have many people who have just not only received education in the Western universities, but also a practical experience of work in the Western companies, PhDs, etc. And last year we suggested to the Prime Minister our assistance in search for human resources to stop the reforming process. And we are able to select among resumes of many candidates and offer somebody to the cabinet. Yes, recently Sergei Petokhov was appointed to the Deputy Minister of Justice. Deputy Minister of Economy is Ruslan Kosh, who graduated from the Northwestern University Business School. Also, we have some heads of departments in the ministries who are members of our association. We have our members of the association in law enforcement agencies. So they are working successfully, but we understand that without radical change, without radical change in legislation, it is impossible to increase considerably this number of people. The strategy for the civil service development is already approved by the Cabinet of Ministers, and this very strategy and the law which we are discussing today, the draft law which we are discussing today, these are preconditions for allocation of special technical assistance, special funds allocated by our Western partners for the reform of civil service sector. That's why we decided to push up this process. Of course, just having the law in place is not enough. We have many laws which are not implemented properly, but nevertheless, we believe that the passage of this law would allow to engage to civil service and to reforming process many interesting people. Now I'd like to give the floor to Alina.
I'll try to speak about the content, why we think this bill is good and it should be adopted. First of all, this draft legislation implements two important principles, the one on meritocracy and the one on market-based salary range for civil servants. And this draft legislation provides a limitation between administrative and political nominations. That is, with ministries, an institute of state secretaries will be introduced to see these officials independent of any political influence, to provide for sustainable development of the public administration. That is, people working on content of the activity, our activities will be independent of political influence. We will also support introduction of competitive selections of candidates to public administration positions, not through nepotism, not through their connections, but just and only because of their professional qualities and qualifications. This bill further supports a new payment system and new system of benefits. That is, surely it will reduce bonuses paid because civil servants will have a stimuli solely through the performance for the benefit of the country. And we support the idea of a sustainable payroll for civil servants. There are numerous initiatives to reduce the number of civil servants and officials and ministers for the sake of having more payroll. But this results in excess payroll amounts being returned to the state budget, thus retaining the problem of underpayment. Rather, we would suggest an increase in wages accessible to civil servants. And there is also one amendment which is under discussion at the moment. This concerns salaries payable to civil servants, not just and only from the budget. There is additional funds should be established, for example, with assistance from international European donors like the EU or other international institutions, to salary ranges affordable to civil servants, to have them earn more at par with the market average situation. And we will try to insist that MPs include this provision in the draft legislation for its subsequent approval. I'd like to now give the floor to Dmytro. Thank you, dear Presidents. We do want the Parliament to create possibility for every ministry to establish a dream team in order to see the most efficient implementation of reforms in the country. And this is all I wanted to tell, and we are ready to take your questions. Thank you for this presentation. Any questions from the media? If there are no questions from the media, then maybe we shall succeed in lobbying this draft legislation to see it finally adopted. Thank you, and our next coming briefing will be at 2 p.m. about